Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. I hope you're having a great day. This past weekend, some friends and I installed several outdoor speakers in my outdoor living area out here. So in this video, we're going to continue with that series of videos, and we're going to be installing 8 speakers on the wall from OSD Audio. Now, I want to give a big thanks to OSD Audio for sponsoring this series of videos. If you haven't seen the first couple of videos, I'll link to them right up here in the card above, as well as at the end of this video. Now, before we dive into the video, I'm going to give you just a quick tour of what we've got working on, as well as what we've installed thus far. So here we are, we've got the first 12-inch burial subwoofer installed right here. We ran all the speaker wire underneath the ground right there. So here's our first rock speaker, which will be facing towards this fire pit area. There's a second rock speaker. Then over here we have a third rock speaker. And then right back here we have a fourth rock speaker. And so we buried all of the cables around here, and it goes right into my dedicated theater room where we'll be connecting it to the amplifiers. And here's a quick pan of the backyard, kind of showing all of those speakers installed. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be installing 8 speakers from OSD Audio in what we call the wall of sound. So previously I had 2 clip speakers mounted to the wall. So we uninstalled those, and we've got the brackets already installed from the previous video. So today we'll be installing 4 speakers side by side for the right channel, and then we'll do 4 speakers for the left channel. Now, some questions that have come up is, why would we want to install 8 speakers, and why would we want to put them so close together? I mean, wouldn't it be better to maybe put a speaker over there and then a speaker here and a speaker here and just kind of scatter them around the edge here? The reason why we want to do this is it's still going to be a stereo sound. And so you can see there's one speaker cable right here, and then we've got another speaker cable down there. And so we want to keep the installation as simple as possible, because if I were to run each individual speaker to the amplifier, we're going to have to run all new cables, and that's a big pain in the butt. And so this will help simplify that, but it still will accomplish something really nice. And basically what we're doing is creating kind of like a line array. So when you go to a concert, sometimes you'll see speakers that are up near the top of the stage, and they're kind of angled down. And so this is similar to that. So we're going to have a line array. And the reason why we made them vertical is we wanted each tweeter to be as close to each other as possible. And that's why we didn't want to separate those, because you can run into some phasing issues. So we're going to go ahead and get over here and get these unboxed. We'll get them hooked up. We'll just start working right here on this table. All right, so for this installation, really we don't have a lot of tools that we'll need. First thing we need is a pair of wire snips. Then we've got a pair of wire strippers. And then we've got some waterproof wire nuts. So we've got different sizes here. This one will take up to 12 gauge, but since we're kind of twisting sometimes 3 14 gauge wires, also went ahead and bought some bigger ones. These will go up to 8 gauge. And so we might be using those. I've already cut some wire here. So these are just various lengths. And so we're going to be using these. So one thing that we're actually going to need to do, now that I think about it, I probably need to go get something else, because we need to separate these cables. So I can just pull this back. Okay, so I can pull it back, so we're good. So I'm going to reach in here and I'm going to grab these 2 cables. We're actually going to pull these out. And I'll explain why I'm doing that. So typically you wouldn't need to do this, but the way that we have to wire up this whole system, it's going to require several wires being tied together, and we would have to strip this casing way back anyway. So I think it's going to be just easier if I pull these out, and we're just going to use the 2 wires from the inside of that. So we don't need this white little sheath there. So we're just going to go ahead and separate it. And we'll lay that off to the side. So I'm going to spare you the video of me actually undoing all these, but I'm going to go ahead and get several pieces of this, and this is what we're going to be using for the install. So we'll go ahead and fast forward the video here. All right, so the next step is we're going to be wiring up each one of these speakers normal. We're going to plug a black to a black and a red to a red, and we're just going to do that for each one of these 4 speakers because we're going to be wiring these up in series parallel. We need to do something a little bit unique. So I think this will work out the best, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. So I'm just going to take my wire strips and we clamp it down on 14 gauge, and then that strips that there. We're just going to give that a little twist. Give that a little twist. We don't want them too long, so we're probably about 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. We're just going to push this down, and we can slide the wire right in there from the bottom, and then we're just going to let go, and that will clamp that wire right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for all 4 speakers. All right, now that we've got them all hooked up, I can see I actually wired one of these incorrectly. Definitely make sure that you are looking at the black ring on the black and the red ring on the black so that you hook these up correctly. So I could have edited that out for you guys, but just trying to keep it real. Sometimes you make mistakes, and that's why it's good to check your wiring before you connect everything. So now we've got a black, red, black, red, black, red, and black and red. So we're good to go there. So now we're going to take these little caps. We're just going to lay the wire over like this. And we're going to snap these. We're going to go this way. Actually, had it right to begin with. So we're going to just snap these in place right here. And what that'll do is kind of keep that back just real tidy, which I really like, by the way. All right, just like that. All right, so now we're going to install each one of these speakers, and we're going to mount these upside down. And so we've got the OSD logo. We're going to put that up near the ceiling. And the reason why I want to do that is I want to keep the tweeters as low as I can towards the listening position. And by putting the woofer higher to the ceiling, closer to the ceiling, we'll get more boundary gain. So we'll get more bottom end out of these speakers. And so we're just going to slide this up here, and they're really easy to install. So the hardest part, okay, you hear how that clicked? That's a good indication that it's in the right spot. And I've got these little kind of tabs right here that have a screw in the top. I'll reach up there. The hardest part is just aligning that because it's hard to see above. So you just got to kind of wiggle it around until we're going to listen for that click again. So we're just going to move it around until it right there. That should be it. Let's screw this in. Just like that. Okay, so we got the first one in here, and then we take another one out of my pocket. And at least the ones on the bottom you can kind of see and line those up a little bit better. They still take a little bit of kind of play, figure out exactly how it lines up. And I'm doing it left-handed too. That doesn't help. There it is. All right, just like that. And so to tighten them up, you just tighten clockwise. And what we're going to do is I'll get the other 3 installed here, the other 4 installed there. And by mounting these upside down, what's nice is I can pull my wires right over the top, be able to connect all of these right in front of the speaker, and then I can just tuck them behind here, just the way this is designed. If I would have dropped them down here, it would have been a real pain because you have to tighten them out here and attach them and then kind of work them through this back. So that way it's going to be really easy and make the install a lot more simple by being able to work right here in front of the speaker. So let me go ahead and get the other 3 speakers installed here, and then we'll get the 4 over there, and then I'll show you how to connect the wiring. All right, so I have all 8 speakers installed, as you can see here. And so those are all set up. I've got all the wires running right over the top. That's going to make it really, really easy and convenient for us to connect right in the front. And then, like I said, we can just tuck it in the back, use some zip ties to tidy it up. So the next step we're going to do is actually wire them together in series parallel. And to do that, let's go ahead and refer to the PDF that OSD sent me. So here we are looking at a PDF document that OSD Outdoor Speaker Depot sent me when we began to design this project. Now, one great thing that I really appreciate about Outdoor Speaker Depot is they offer this as a free service to everyone. So if you're interested in building something like this for your outdoor living area, they'll design and do the same thing that we're looking at here. So if you want more details on that, I've got more information on the previous video of how you begin that process. I'll link to it right up here in the card above. So here we are looking at the wiring diagram. And so if we look at the very bottom, we see that we'll be connecting these 8 speakers to the OSD XMP 500 amplifier. We're going to be connecting one channel to the left 4 speakers and then the other channel to the right 4 speakers. So if we look at the very bottom, we've just got the one wire that's coming from the XMP 500. That's the one that's going through my attic, and it was the white cable that dropped down from my ceiling out in my lanai. So we're going to take the cable that's coming from the amplifier, and we're going to first connect the positive wire to the positive cable on speaker 1 as well as speaker 2. So we're just going to take a wire nut and combine that positive with the 2 positives from speaker 1 and speaker 2. So the next thing we're going to do is connect the negative wire of speaker 1 to the negative wire of speaker 2, and then also connect that to a third wire. It's just going to be some extra wire. You can see that at the top that's going to connect the left side to the right side wiring. So if we follow that path over, we're going to take the other end of that spare wire and connect that to the positive of speaker 3, and we're going to connect it also to the positive of speaker 4. So there will be 3 wires there tied together, that one wire that's connecting the negative side to the positive side, as well as the positive from speaker 3 and speaker 4. So it may look a little confusing, but if you just follow this diagram, if you have a setup like this, then it's going to make it really, really easy. And like I said, I really appreciate the fact that OSD makes it really simple for anybody to install on their own. You're not going to need to hire somebody to come out and wire this up for you. It's pretty straightforward. Now, if you only have a pair of speakers, you're not going to be connecting it this way. But again, when they design the system for you, they'll let you know exactly how you're going to need to connect that to the amplifiers. All right, so now the last step is to wire all of these speakers together. And so the first thing we're going to do, this white cable here is the one coming from the amplifier. So it actually goes up through my ceiling and then down into my theater room. So the first step is we're going to wire this positive cable, this red one, to the positive of this speaker 2, and also the positive wire of, I grabbed the wrong one, positive of speaker 1. So we're going to twist those together, and then we'll use a wire nut, a waterproof wire nut, to secure those together. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So we're just going to take all 3 of these. So I usually twist 2 of them and then twist the third one around those 2. So hopefully you guys can see me. I'm actually doing this at night. It's actually really cool. Typically in Florida, it is crazy hot during the day. Fortunately, we're doing this in the wintertime, so very, very pleasant out here. So I've got some of these wire nuts. We're going to see if this small one will fit 3 wires. If not, I've got some bigger ones that we'll put on, but we've got those. You can even take a pair of pliers and kind of twist these together, but usually if you do it tight enough with your fingers, you're good. And then we're just going to slide this all the way in there, just like that. And we're just going to twist until it locks in tight, just like that. Just give them a little tug, make sure they're not going to come out, so everything's secure. And we can see the silicone kind of coming out from there, and that's just going to protect it from the weather. But fortunately, where I've got these mounted up here, there really isn't much weather that's going to get to them, not even sunlight, and especially rain and condensation and so forth. All right, so the next step we're going to take is we're going to do the negative here. We're going to connect to the negative of speaker 3 and the negative of speaker 4. So we'll go ahead and grab this one. So see how this makes it so much easier doing this on the front end? Imagine if I were to try to do this one speaker at a time, it would just be a real big pain. And then we can take all of these wires, push them back there, and just kind of tidy those up. So I'll go ahead and get these twisted here. So this is the negative of speaker 3 and negative of speaker 4. And we're going to tie that into the negative coming from the theater room and the amplifier. So we'll get all 3 of those twisted together like that. Grab one of these. So this was definitely, these are small enough. I think these are the, if I remember correctly, they're 10 gauge. Maybe they're 12 gauge. I mentioned it earlier in the video. So actually, now that I let it go, I'm going to twist them again. And then we're going to stick it in there. Begin to twist till it gets tight. You just want to make sure it's tight enough to where it's not going to come off. Just like that. All right, so those are tied together. And honestly, I've got to look back at this little cheat sheet here. So if we look back at the diagram, so we've got the main cable coming from the bottom. The speaker 3 and speaker 4 are tied into the negative, and speaker 1 and 2 of the positive are tied into the positive of speaker 1 and 2. So now we're going to take the negative from speaker 1, the negative of speaker 2, and then one other cable. So we're going to need to get one more extra spare wire, and I've got some down here. So we're just going to crawl down, and we'll get one of these. We'll go ahead and get this red wire. I'm just going to splice or strip the ends of it off camera. Go ahead and climb back up here. So again, you want to make sure you're doing this right. So I'm going to look at it just one more time. So we're going to take the negative of speaker 1, and we're going to connect it to the negative of speaker 2, and then connect that to a single wire that will run across and connect to the positives of these two. So here's the negative of speaker 1. Twist that. Here's the negative of speaker 2. Twist that. Twist those two together. And we'll just connect it to this red wire. Doesn't really matter what color the wire is, just as long as you're connecting the way that we're supposed to. So we're going to connect all 3 of these like that. Grab another cap here. Stick that in there and tighten it down just like that. And just to make sure, again, I'm going to look at my handy dandy diagram. So we're going to take the positive of speaker 4, connect that to the positive of speaker 3, and then connect it back to this wire that we just did here. So pretty straightforward. So I probably could cut some of this extra cable here. Honestly, I'm probably just going to leave it. I'll just bunch it up. We'll tuck it back in there. Honestly, I could always come back in here and redo it and shorten up the wires, but this definitely makes it easier for you at home to kind of see what is going on here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut that because it is actually pretty long and there's really no need. I wasn't sure how much extra wire I was going to need for this. So let's just go ahead and do that. Because like I said, there's just no reason having an extra 2 feet because that's going to tie in right there. So we'll cut that. strip the end off of it. All right, and so now we'll connect the red, the positive of speaker 3 to the positive of speaker 4. Like that. And then this is going to kind of tie in the negative to the positive over here. Just like that. And we'll secure the last one on here. Just like that. And so all 4 of these speakers are now connected. Like I said, I believe this is series parallel. I'm not super technical in regards to that. But the great thing is OSD provides all of the diagram as far as how you should wire it up. If you're only hooking up 2 of them, you would just use the positive and negative from the amplifier to the positive and negative of the speaker. I just happen to have a little bit different setup with this wall of sound. So I'm going to take this and just tuck it back here. I'm going to go out in the garage and I'll get some zip ties. And the good thing is we've got these nice brackets back here that I can tidy it up. So I'm not going to bore you with that. I'll show you the after product once I get that all tidied up. And here we have the Youthman wall of sound installed. I really love the way this turned out. Definitely very pleased. I know I could not have gotten those level like that by myself, so I'm glad I enlisted a few friends to help me out. You can see very clean install here, just a few wires you can see, but other than that, it's super, super clean. Well, I hope you're enjoying this outdoor speaker install. I'll have links to all of the products down in the description below. Also, I've got 2 more videos that I'll be making on this series, installing the amplifiers and the streamer, as well as the final review. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.